Welcome to episode 2 of An Art Witch Halloween. Today's crafts are inspired by an era that was rich in spooky material. This was a time when mourning the dead was turned into an art form, into a fashion. Everything from the jewelry to the architecture to the literature had this tension between beauty and darkness. They found the beauty in the darkness. I'm speaking, of course, of the Victorians. The Victorian aesthetic just feels so right for Halloween to me, and this first craft is inspired by the Gothic revival aesthetic of that era. Let me show you how to make stained glass bats. The medium for this craft is glass paint. I'm using a black relief paint, which is thicker and holds lines well, and a transparent paint in the color sand, which will spread easily. I drew my interpretation of a Gothic bat shape, but you can pull one from the internet if you want. Just make sure there are clearly visible outlines to trace. Place a piece of clear acetate over the bat reference. It's helpful to tape it in place. Use the relief paint to trace the outlines. Don't worry if your line work is wobbly, it makes it look spookier in my opinion. When your outline is done, leave it to dry. It doesn't have to be completely hardened, just dry to the touch. With the thinner paint, the best tool to use is a pipette or eyedropper. Use this to fill in the areas within the outline. If you try to use a brush for this, it just absorbs the paint and it really doesn't work well. When you're done, leave your bats to dry completely. At this point, you can just peel the bats off the acetate and stick them to a window, but personally, I'm partial to a garland, so here's how I did that. Instead of peeling the bats off, cut around them close to the paint, but leave an extra bubble of acetate at the two peaks of the wings. Use a craft knife to cut little slits to thread the string and turn your individual bats into a garland. In another age, when propriety mattered, it was deemed completely inappropriate to make overt advances to someone or to even have a lover at all. So people had to come up with clever ways to court someone in secret. The Victorians had the language of flowers, which were words or messages assigned to certain blooms, and in that way they could send a bouquet or choose a particular blossom to send a secret message to their lover. Before them, the Georgians favored lover's eye jewelry, which was a painted portrait of their eye that they would set into a brooch and give to their lover so that they could gaze into their eyes whenever they wanted. There is something both romantic and distinctly creepy about a disembodied eye. So I just think it's perfect for Halloween, and this next craft, I'm going to be making lover's eye cookies that I think perhaps would be a little bit creepier than the Georgians would have liked. You'll need a cookie frosted with royal icing for your canvas. In the UK, it's really easy to get royal icing sugar that you can just mix with water to make royal icing. If you can't get that where you are, you can use confectioner sugar with a little bit of meringue powder, which is sold at specialty baking shops. And that with a little water makes a great, easy royal icing. I'm going to paint the eye with powdered food dye mixed with a tiny amount of vodka. The vodka dries quickly and won't dissolve the icing. Make sure you're using brushes that are only used in the kitchen and not with craft paint. If you've never worked with this mixture of food paint before, it feels a bit like working with watercolors on dry paper. To give these cookies the look of jewelry, pipe a border in gold icing around the edge and set with edible pearls. I think any lover would be thrilled to receive this cookie. In my mind, every day is Halloween, so when I craft something for the season, I like to make things that I can display year-round. This next craft is perhaps more quietly spooky, with a nod to the ornamentation of the Victorian era, but something that I'd be happy to display on my wall no matter the season. Let's make an elegant yet spooky paper fan. The paper I'm using for this craft is Lotka paper, which is handmade and has a soft, absorbent quality to it. I'm sure you're familiar with the accordion fold. Start at one end on the shorter side, fold up a couple centimeters, flip the paper over, and repeat. To give the silhouette of the fan a more gothic look, I'm cutting a rounded chunk out of the top edge so the folds are pointed. I want the fan to have a burnished look, so first I'm soaking each end in water, then blackening the edges for an ombre effect. I couldn't find my ink, so I'm using acrylic paint diluted with water, but ink works great for this. Carefully adjust the folds and leave to dry. I want this fan to have a tassel, so I'm using this easy method of wrapping string around a piece of cardboard. Slip a piece of string through the loops at the top and knot them together before removing from the cardboard. Tie another piece of string around the top, knot tight, and cut the loops at the other end. There's one more element I want to make for this fan, and it's an illustrated moth. I think a death's head hawk moth is perfect for Halloween. You may recognize it from Silence of the Lambs. All my elements are ready, so it's time to put them together. Handmade paper tends to be impervious to tape, so it's better to join the two halves with glue. I'm sneaking in a loop of string in the back before gluing so I can hang this on a wall. And here is the finished piece. Thank you for joining me for this Victorian-inspired Halloween crafting. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode, and please enjoy this sneak peek. Horror movies, spooky movies, autumnal movies,